welcome to Benchmark Magazine. My name is Jenny Caloisi, and today we are meeting Spenser Marshall, Head of HID Europe. Spenser is going to talk to us a little bit about the state of the European market and what does the company see for the future. Hello, Spenser. How are you?
Yes, I'm very well today. Thank you, Jenny.
Excellent. Spenser, tell us a little bit what your role at HID is, and then we go straight onto an overview of the physical access control in Europe, please.
Yeah, no problem. So my name is Spenser Marshall, and I've been at HID now for 17 years. So quite a period of time. I started out as a regional manager in the UK, and then started looking after the Nordic region, and then ultimately where I am today now as the head of Europe. I have quite a few different teams reporting into me. So we focus on different areas, our channel partners. We focus on end user specification, supporting those large enterprise accounts. And in addition, we also have pre-sale support, making sure that we have a team to navigate our customers through those technical queries that they may have as well. So quite a comprehensive team covering the whole of Europe.
So I suppose you will have different languages in different countries within Europe.
Yes, most definitely. We pretty much speak within our team virtually every language across Europe. So good coverage.
Excellent. So can you give us an overview of the physical access control market in Europe, please?
Yeah, sure. So I think, like many markets, we try to make sure that we can work with all the different areas that market's looking for. So, for example, we try and make sure that we've got solutions to support that SME space, but also as well on the opposite side, making sure that we can look after the enterprise customers as well. I think across Europe, there's obviously a very large mixture of that. And to make sure that we are supporting that, we have to make sure that we've also got very different solutions. So that would be our general way, of making sure that we can cover all of the market in Europe within access control. I think that over the past couple of years, every industry has probably gone through an element of change due to the pandemic. And so once we've came out of the pandemic, we started to see some changes with the way that people were, for example, working in offices, and how that occupancy and efficiency was required, and how then access control fits into that. And I think that a lot of companies now are moving more into, rather than just an on-premise solution, they're trying to look at more cloud-based solutions. So trying to apply, software as a service. Now, there's a lot of organizations that are able to meet those demands, but it's also making sure that it's efficient for the end user as well. So one good example is where we're trying to implement mobile access solutions rather than physical access solutions. And so mobile access is a real help for end users, both large and small. And if you think about what I mentioned around the occupancy, so that means that what they can do is they can analyze their occupancy to see when their users, their employees are coming into the building, and then they can adapt to understand, whether or not they need catering services at a low or a high level for that day, whether or not they need to ensure that they've got extra offices available for the employees or customers coming in. So I think the way that the market is adapting to using the buildings, or certainly businesses are using to adapt the buildings, access control is trying to adapt to support that as well.
Great. So access control is helping intelligent buildings to become more intelligent in terms of what is happening and what is needed. So would you say that this is an area of growth for HID, or is it a different area that HID will grow into?
Yes, I think so, most definitely. So what we're seeing more and more is a greater uptake of mobile access solutions. And one of the things that we did in 2023 in Europe was that we launched our mobile access, the capabilities to be able to deploy that into wallet solutions. And so what we're seeing now is we're trying to make sure that we have the choice for our customers, so that our traditional mobile access solutions were predominantly being driven by the use of Bluetooth, whereas now that's being used in the NFC wallet solutions provided by Apple and Google. I think another area of growth, and it does link back to the mobile piece, is the ESG element. So environmental, social, and corporate governance. And so where that the mobile solutions fall into that ESG element is sustainability, and sort of making sure that companies are hitting their green targets. So how does mobile do that? Well, the fact of the matter is that they're no longer using plastic cards, which ultimately are very difficult to recycle and end up in landfill. And so for us, we're trying to make sure that we're offering greener solutions for our clients. In addition to that, Jenny, as well, you'll have some clients that may turn around and say, well, I don't really want to use a digital credential. And so to make sure that we're hitting that green targets that they're looking for, we've now been able to deliver bamboo credentials, which are recyclable and ultimately sustainable for those organizations.
I remember you launched the bamboo credentials this year as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Fantastic. So mobile access, using mobile phones, going green, this is the areas of growth. Are there any vertical markets where that is more adopted than others?
I would suggest that right now what we're seeing is that we're seeing some large enterprise customers that are using that. But if we talk about a specific vertical, where it becomes really, really helpful is within the commercial real estate space, because ultimately a commercial real estate, a landowner, a building owner, they've got multiple tenants. So it's very simple for them to implement such a solution and then be able to provide a digital credential to those tenants, because the tenant may only be there on a 5-year lease, or it might even be a short-term tenant. So it's very easy for them to be able to implement this solution. Also, as well, from a visitor perspective, when you have these large commercial real estate buildings, it's very easy and simple for them to be issued a HID mobile credential, and revoke that credential rather than issuing a plastic one. And ultimately, it may be that sometimes part of that needs to be disposed of.
Yes, fantastic. So that's from the side of who's using it. Now, tell us a little bit about your partners and distributors. How do you choose them? What training do you provide to them?
Yeah, so we've got distributors and partners that cover the whole of Europe and obviously the whole of the globe. Certainly, when we look at our partners, we have two different types of partners. We tend to have a distribution partner, or we have an OEM partner. Our distributors and partners, they are hand selected based on the country requirement, and we will collaborate with that distributor to support us, with stock, first line support, joint marketing initiatives. So it depends on the country requirement. It depends on the distributors that are already in place, and ultimately the best that we can collaborate. When it then comes to our OEM partners, we tend to look at our OEM partners based on how much they want to collaborate and invest in HID hardware. So we have, our credentials and our readers, but also as well, then we also have our controller platform. So we're looking to our OEMs and saying, how do you want to collaborate with us? How do you want to integrate, our solutions, into your software, our hardware? And That's when it comes to the point where we will give them the APIs, the application programming interface, and allow them then to integrate to us. And a good example of that is our mobile cloud solution, Origo, where we'll give them the APIs to connect to, and ultimately they can then issue the mobile credential from their own software.
Can you, just in case we don't know, tell us what OEM stands for?
Yeah, so that's the original equipment manufacturer. So the OEM is ultimately the organization that develops the software that drives the access control system.
Fantastic. Thank you, Spenser. So what are the main challenges that HID is facing on expanding its reach or getting new partners? What obstacles, what hurdles are you looking to overcome?
So I think for Europe, I would suggest that because it's made up of so many multiple countries and it's so diverse, that's one of the challenges I think that any manufacturer has. And each country has its own dynamic. And so I'll give you an example. Some countries, they rely on specific OEMs to support them. So ultimately, what we will try and do is we'll work with those OEMs that are very prevalent within that country to make sure that we can collaborate and deliver the solutions that the customers are looking to obtain. And then you have there are some countries that are just looking for a specific type of product. So I'll give you a good example there. We have the Nordic region, and within the Nordics, they predominantly install keypad readers. And ultimately, they consume a huge amount of keypad readers. So we want to make sure that we are doing voice of the customer in that region and making sure we're getting really good feedback to understand what they're looking for and how we can support them best. So I think if we go back to what is the challenges, the challenges is making sure that HID has built the right strategy for each of the countries within the UK, because no country is the same.
It must be a bit of a headache for you to think which strategy was for each of these.
Oh, yes, most definitely. That's where 17 years of experience comes
in handy, indeed, indeed. So what type of support or training do you provide HID partners and distributors internationally?
So we want to make sure that we have field support in every country, which we pretty much do, not just globally, but also Europe-wide. We have field support in every country. And we make sure that not necessarily have an individual based in every country, but ultimately we might have one individual that covers 3 countries. But to make sure that we're supporting our partners, we not only have a regional sales manager, we'll also have a pre-sales engineer or a pre-sales consultant that looks after that region. Then we may have somebody that's looking after specification. We may have somebody that looks after consultants. So we want to make sure that our partners understand the way that we operate so that they can then collaborate much better. We always like to give on-site training to our partners as well. So I think that's really important, that you sit down with your partners, they understand the solutions, the tools that you have and what you're providing. So, I mean, they can ultimately become that first line of support for you. In addition to that, we have a really, really fantastic training academy. So we have a web-based training academy, and it covers all, a huge plethora of products and solutions that we deliver, and they can gain certification at different levels as well.
And do you also provide marketing material, white papers and things like that for your partners to provide to their clients?
Yes, most definitely. So we'll provide, white papers, data sheets. We also have, several different interfaces that they can use to access presentations on our solutions as well, which we will then allow them to use to present our products into the market. And then, of course, it's always great when you're out and about and you're at events, so like trade shows, exhibitions. customer specific events as well. And we also make sure that we can provide support with our partners. So if they're holding an event to support their resellers, we'll make sure that we can be there and be present and help them, with the solutions that we offer.
Fantastic. What do you see as the trends or developments coming up?
Yes, so there probably are a number that we see. We spoke a little bit earlier about workplace occupancy.
Yes.
And I think that workplace occupancy goes into smart buildings and how the use of smart buildings is becoming very prevalent. And those smart buildings are looking for a number of different solutions to be provided by the core management consultant on site. So ultimately, we want to try and make sure that we've got our solutions that work within that, which is ultimately mobile. We also see a new solution that we launched this year is identity positioning, and that is a solution which helps within these smart buildings identify the occupancy that they have, not just within the building, but also even at a floor level, or even how the individuals are using meeting rooms. Again, what I mentioned earlier, how these smart buildings are trying to identify and analyze data to see how many people are there on certain days of the week. Well, it's really important when they've got, they're delivering maybe, a coffee shop. How much milk do I need to order this month, or this week? On which days do I need to actually have that in? How many, because it's really important that they have got their fresh items that they're buying are used up, within that day, So that's really important for them to drive that.
And this is just machine to machine, because it's mobile to whatever the system is on each building. But do you see things changing towards more biometrics, changing towards more, these futuristic ways that we might be controlled or checked?
Yeah, I think that biometrics definitely has a place. And there are obviously a number of different biometrics that are being sold, and a number of different biometrics are being required by end users. I think that in the pandemic, facial became very prominent, more prominent than it had ever been before. And I think certainly, fingerprint is still being used. And there are other different ways of biometric. I can certainly see that, mobile credentials is an area which is being driven more and more and being required more. I think one of the things that we're seeing that's being asked, which is certainly a trend, is more about higher security, premium security solutions. And so I think it's very important to ensure that whatever solutions you are delivering is that you are ensuring that you have a premium security level for your products. But also the other thing is about privacy. So whether it's the end user themselves or whether it's the employee, it's very important for them to have a level of privacy.
So who would be a premium security company, a required company? Who would require a hospital, a school?
I think it's probably, so public sector obviously is always looking for, premium security, and they're looking for, best in class solutions. I think that, when we're providing solutions to data centers for, energy companies, they tend to be more around critical national infrastructure. They're the organizations that premium security is pretty much at the top of their list. And if you look at, for example, cybersecurity rules and regulations, for example, how you manage your information technology, there is an ISO standard, which is 27001, which ultimately, we're approved to that ISO standard. And that's a big requirement. And then there's a new standard coming in to the European Union, which is NIS2. Actually, it's been around for a few years, but it's an upgraded version now that's coming in. And ultimately, that's around cybersecurity and the requirements around that. So we want to make sure that we'll be meeting that as well. So
do you have many different standards in Europe?
Yes, there are multiple different standards. I think that what you have to do is make sure that you're complying to the ISO standards, the European standards. But then in addition to that, there's also country standards that you need to make sure that you comply to as well.
Wonderful. Last question, Spenser. Can you give us a couple of examples that you feel really proud of, that HID has done a fantastic job on applying the latest access technology?
Sure. So a couple that come to mind. So at the start of this year, we implemented mobile access into a flagship building in Bishopsgate, and with the support of one of our key technology partners, we were able to issue over 15,000 mobile credentials to the building. In addition to that, we also worked directly with Apple to deliver the credential into the wallet to provide seamless access. And I visited the building probably about 5 or 6 times and used it, the mobile credential within my own device, and it really truly is a seamless solution. So works really, really well. Another great one that we did literally, I think it was about 3 months ago, so probably in September, and that was another flagship project using mobile access, which was into British land. So so a large commercial real estate company, and we did this in one of their central London offices, and now they're deploying that across all their buildings as their standard offering for mobile credentials.
Fantastic. Yes, at Benchmark we've written about you doing things in Poland and all over the place, Holland, everywhere.
Yep.
Spenser, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to seeing what the coming years brings for HID, for access controls, and let's stay in touch. How can people find you? Where are you going to be in the coming year?
Yeah, so people can find me as always on LinkedIn, but we'll be at all the large exhibitions across Europe. So we'll be at the security event, we'll be at IFSEC, we'll be at the events in the Middle East. We're going to be everywhere, as we always want to be now, to make sure that we get that exposure to our partners and our customers. But as always, traveling across Europe and meeting our valuable customers and our partners.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Spenser. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.